Back. As usual, I'm 13. We're playing a requested deck tonight. This is probably the most requested deck that we get on YouTube. Is essentially doing Martyr Proc with Stoneforge Mystic. Now it's been out. We've done a lot of Stoneforge deck lately, but honestly, it's a fun card to play with, and Batter Skull kind of makes sense in the life gain deck, so here we are. We're going to be playing with a couple of new cards. This is going to be a quicker deck tech because Martyr Proc is a deck I've played a number of times, so most people are familiar with the choices. If you'd like some more details on the card choices, my two previous videos I go over alternate cards and different things that you can do, but let's just hammer down to the differences on this one. So first and foremost, we are Martyr Proc. The unstoppable game plan, if opponent doesn't interact with us, is Saracenda on turn 1, Martyr of Sands on turn 2, reveal 6 white cards in our hand. Sorry, 4. It's 3 times 4. I can math. But reveal 4 white cards in our hand, get to 32 life, hit opponent with a 6/6 flying lifelinker, the game's over. If they can't answer Saracenda, it's over. The name Martyr Proc also comes from Proclamation of Rebirth. I'm running one of these kind of as a fun of, just to keep the spirit of the deck alive, plus it with Kami of False Hope can technically infinitely fog, so we're here. Plus it's a pretty decent value card, so I don't mind keeping one in the deck. Then we actually trimmed the full-blown Ranger of Eos. It's going to be a little bit of a... Yeah, it's a little bit of a non-bow trimming that with Charming Prince, but Ranger Captain stops combo decks, and there's a lot of Urza running around. Like, honestly, Modern hasn't been overly fun with Urza because a lot of opponents can't figure out how to pilot the deck, and I don't just want to sit there and watch them. But Ranger Captain will stop the combo decks, also go tutor up one of our 1-drops. We have a couple of single of tutor targets that are 1 CMC, like Walking Ballista and Thraben Inspector, and then we're trying the full 4 copies of Charming Prince. So this is a card that was talked about for taxes a little bit. Gain 3 life is actually relevant if we're down a white card for our Sarah Ascendant, so this can actually be a viable turn 3 play to turn it back online. Scry 2 is essentially draw a card, and Flickering Ranger Captain is go grab either a Martyr of Sands, basically any of our tutor targets. He just works. So we're going to be trying 4 of him. And then the row request here was running the 4 of Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic. I still haven't replaced the images for this or Feast and Famine. Batter Skull, though, is a 4/4 lifelinker. And Sword of Fire and Ice is going to be our attrition card. We are an attrition deck. We try to get a little bit here and there, and Sword of Fire and Ice is great. Slapping that on a Squadron Hawk is very viable. And we have our mono white. I'm calling this Martyr Blade just because it is on the shell of Martyr Proc, but it is a Stone Blade deck. We have a number of Pithy Needles on the side to stop Urza. We have Thalias on the side. I've always been a big advocate of Thalia in these decks. We end up running 7 non-creatures in the entire deck, including the equipments. Might be 8. I think it's 8. But the Thalia attacks doesn't hurt us too bad, but it stops Paradoxical Outcome. It's really hard against burn. It just stops a lot of the unfair strategies, so we're going to be running with those. I don't like having this number of artifacts in our side because we have to reveal white cards to Martyr of Sands, but we need Crucible of Worlds because Tron is very apparent in this meta, so yeah, I mean, those are the cards. Again, if you want a full breakdown, I'll cover any that come up, but they are in the other videos I have for Martyr Proc. But let's go ahead and play first. This is not insane, but we're on the play with a turn 1 Sarah Ascendant. We actually get to go get Squadron Hawks. If we find a Martyr, we have an epic start. And we also have a Charming Prince, which I kind of just want to see how that goes down. But this is how a lot of our hands are going to look with this deck, so happy to hang on to it. Ooh, what are you? You are new. Transcendent Master. That might have been from Khan's block, but that should be a Narset. Once Upon a Time. So I'm expecting this to be Neoform. Noble Hierarch. Okay, so Eldrazi Tron. Interesting. Does that change anything? I don't really think so. So I run out the land, I run out the squawks, I go get the other 3 squawks, and I don't have to discard a hand size because we're on the play. So let's do that, just that we don't draw another Squadron Hawk, which is to make our top decks as good as they can get. Alternatively, I could run out the Thraben Inspector and the Serra Ascendant, but I don't think that there's enough upside there. I think I just really don't want to draw another Squadron Hawk. And I can beat the opponent if they... I can beat the opponent with one Serra Ascendant. I don't need the other one. It's not like I need to one-shot them out of anywhere. I'm expecting this to be Eldrazi Displacer. Yep. And that is a path right on time. So I'm going to path now just so I can get in. The little bit of life gain actually does matter. Of note, I can't run Eldrazi Displacer in this deck because it's devoid. It's not actually white. And then I kind of want to keep the most cards in hand. I'm going to run out Charming Prince looking for a Martyr of Sands just so I can turn the Serra Ascendant on. Gaining the 3 life isn't very relevant at the moment. And I can flicker the Squawks. It really doesn't do anything. Scry 2 is kind of like a pseudo draw 1. Yeah, I don't really want either of these. I don't have the lands for the Batterskull yet, so... Charming Prince already shown a little bit of value in the deck that doesn't have very much card advantage to it. We get a lot of value late game, but we don't start with much card advantage. This looks like Reality Smasher. Yep. He's a gonna smash. Unfortunately, putting me really far away from 30 life for these Serra Ascendants, but revealing 5 cards is gain 15, which turns it online. Okay, that's fine. Likely what I have to do here is just Banishing Light. Opponent still has 4 cards in hand, but I'm going to have to discard a Squawks to this. Alternatively, it's Thraben Inspector, discard, or sorry, draw a card. Yeah, I need to get rid of the threat on the table. We're currently behind. That, and unless opponent has All's Dust, they likely don't have an answer for this. Is this when it becomes the target? Of a spell. Okay, that's pretty sweet. For some reason I thought it was spell or ability, but it's only spell. Banishing Light is one of those cards that is misnamed for Meddling Mage. Between that and Oblivion Ring, it's just unconditional answers where we can't usually answer Planeswalkers. Ancient Stirrings is looking for a threat. We already know about the Noble. Wow, they whiff on Ancient Stirrings and scoop it up. Okay. Alright, well, I actually don't think we were going to win that. Opponent is on Eldrazi Tron, so they have Nobles, which means they're likely not on Chalice, so I don't need the Disenchants. The Invoke Divine is in here specifically for Chalice. It also lets us gain some life. Pithing Needle could be a consideration for Eldrazi Displacer. It gets rid of our blockers, but it's honestly not that relevant, and we're pretty happy flickering a lot of what we have. Although it sucks versus the Batterskull. Yeah, let's bring in 2 Pithing Needles. And if we're bringing in colorless things, I'm not overly excited about the Martyr of Sands. We need to keep our white count pretty high here. The Sword of Fire and Ice isn't going to be relevant versus most of their creatures, but if we put that on a Squadron Hawk, we're going to make contact every turn. The Walking Ballista can shoot down their Noble Hierarchs. It might just be 2 Charming Princes. They're good and they're flexible, but they're the least necessary thing in this deck, and I like keeping my 1 counts high when there's not a Chalice inbound because Ranger Captain can go tutor a lot of those 1-drops. My opponent messaged me, first 8-rack, now this. I want friendly leagues back. I don't know why you would be complaining. This is actually a very friendly matchup for our opponent here. Oh, jeez. This is, like, so bad. I guess I'm going to 5. So, right here, I can Emeria into Winds of Abandon on the... Thought Knot's going to take that. I can't do anything with the Proclamation. Pithing Needles, maybe card. Alright, this is fine. Get rid of Stoneforge Mystic. If opponent's on Thought-Knot this early, it's going to feel super bad. And I guess just the Misspell Plains, I want to Thraben on 1 and then Stoneforge. So I don't want the tap land yet. Once upon a time. I don't think my opponent's actually casting this correctly unless they're specifically digging for their 1-drops. You want to cast that before your first spell, not just whenever you can. Like, this just doesn't seem like it's helping them as much as it could be. In this scenario, opponent can Eldrazi Temple and take my Stoneforge Mystic. Oh boy. Alright, well, I'm going to Serra Ascendant. The reason I'm pausing on this, though, is because a Martyr of Sands is going to not gain me enough life to make this a 6/6. I'm going to have to make contact first, but I think I'm okay to make contact and then have a 6/6. Basic land here means I'm primarily looking at a Matter Reshaper. Okay. That seems like an interesting decision. Must not have had a 3-drop. Oh, if this is a Chalice, I'm going to feel so bad. All right. I mean, it was always a possibility. But it looks like my Batterskull is going to have to go the distance. Batterskull is going to be closest to turning on my Serra Ascendant. I mean, historically, Eldrazi Tron runs Chalice, but if they're running Chalice, then it means that they're on the Noble Hierarch Displacer plan. Alright. And opponent has 2 Stoneforge Mystics. Alright. And they went for Sword of Feast and Famine. Okay, well that's likely never making contact. And this is slightly awkward. Alright, well, I think it's impossible to say that we're not putting in Batterskull, but let's think about it for just a moment. Charming Prince, Flicker Stoneforge Mystic will go get us a Sword of Fire and Ice. I can keep up a Path to Exile in case they have a Reality Smasher. But next turn is likely going to be Violin, the Sword of Feast and Famine, put it on a Stoneforge and attack if I don't Batterskull. So yeah, let's just go ahead and put in our Batterskull. If we get to 30 life, then we are pretty far ahead in this matchup. They'll have to have an Eldrazi Displacer and flicker our Serra Ascendant every turn. And even then we have a Path to Exile just to clear it out of the way. Oh, well, Chalice. Derp to derp. Alright, Batterskull in. Field of Ruin. Alright. Charming Prince hits a creature you own, not permanent. So I really only have Charming Prince here. I can attack in with my Germ token and bounce the Batterskull when they block. I'll gain 4 life and then be set up for another turn. I think that's the best I'm doing here. Alternatively, Charming Prince, go get the sword. I think the bottom line, though, is I want to gain 4 life. Opponent's going to be able to put in both of their equipments. Okay, they didn't want to do anything. Alright. Let's just Charming Prince and try to find some lands here, or at least some non-1-drops. Gaining 3 life doesn't really mean anything with the Batterskull in play. Yeah, Misspell actually doesn't do a whole lot. The fact that they have the Chalice out is so backbreaking for us. I didn't bring in an answer. Then here comes sort of Feast and Famine. really? Displacer? Nope. Okay, they overpaid. I trimmed 2 Charming Princes and 1 is in the battlefield, which means the Stoneforge Mystic likely isn't getting flickered anytime soon. So, bye Stoneforge, you tried. And that's a dead draw. Alright, well, opponent's going to be cracking their Horizon Canopy here. They already have their basic waste, so Displacer's still on the table. I can go get a white card. Yeah, we're just not beating this. The number of draws that we need to take to get out of this game, I guess actually Banishing Light might be able to do it, so we can try to stall for a couple of turns here. Brushland is a color for them. Me attacking with the germ is just going to kill my germ, so we're just going to sit back. I can't pay to move it. Bye, Charming Prince. You technically filtered our deck a bit for us? Okay, that's lethal. That is so lethal. I can't even activate Field of Ruin here. Sarah Ascendant is basically just going to eat the germ. Displacer gets to actually flicker my germ. Yep. Alright, so Sarah Ascendant's not going to be online anytime soon. Opponent gets all of their mana back, so they get rid of my germ token. We'll discard the Thraben Inspector. I think we have 2 turns. This seems kind of like poor sequencing. They're going to go after the Batter Skull, and I just get to bounce it. They could have just flickered my germ, and it... probably would have been the same outcome. Alright, well, this is what we can do. If they find a colorless source that can double flicker, hit me for 8, 11, 12, 13. Okay, that's game. So now that I know for a fact their Stoneforge deck, I actually thought they were going to be on Karn, but Invoke the Divine comes in, Disenchant comes in. Pithy Needle technically does things, but the fact that it gets hit by Chalice, I think I'm trimming one. Then we can get rid of Kami. Honestly, fogging a single combat step doesn't mean a whole lot, which means Proclamation's coming out as well, so because that combo can't work here. Wow. Alright, well. Yay, we're not actually going to mulligan to Oblivion. We're just going to mulligan hard. If they are on Chalice, I really need this Disenchant. I think it's actually the Ranger Captain here, just because we don't have the mana to pay for him. And unfortunately, this means that top decking a Martyr. We're not online yet. We have to make contact first. Yeah, not thrilled with the way opponents using Once Upon a Time, but they've had it every game. That's a good draw. All right. And top deck sort of Fire and Ice like a boss. Okay, let's hit first. And now Noble actually can't swing back, which means... no, we'll actually be down because we're casting Stoneforge here. Go get our last equipment. Opponent might be on Thought Knot. Alright. I assume they have to take Batter Skull here. Then I get to Squawks, put Sword of Fire and Ice on it, and then hopefully build from there. Guess top decking that Sword of Fire and Ice wasn't super bad at this point, but let's get Squawks out of our deck, get back some card advantage, come back from mulliganing. Oh my gosh, screen capture. Thank you, Bradwan. I literally just noticed it as you said that. If I top deck a land, I can Stoneforge and attack with Serra Ascendant. So I assume that means I have to block with Squawks. Once upon a time, this one looks like it's digging for a land. Found Eldrazi Displacer. Okay, well that's a problem. If they have one more mana in hand, it means they get Activate Displacer twice. Oh, I'm perfectly okay with that. Alright, well, I guess we'll see if they have another path. My opponent knew our hand. This was a risk. I still would have waited to path until my turn. No, I would have had sword either way. But they'd know what to path. So let's kill Noble, shut off some of their mana generation, top deck a Martyr. Alright. This is Happy Magic Christmas Land right here. Although Displacer, if they have mana, they can Displacer and flicker me once. Which case means I need a Pithing Needle. Alright. Which one do I go after? I think I just go for the kill and disenchant the Chalice. I'm assuming that's my best line here. So I disenchant Chalice, I run out Martyr, I gain 9 life, hit opponent for 11. Not 11. It's going to get +5/+5, so I hit for 8 and then shoot for 2. So I'll hit them for 10. I run out another Squadron Hawk so I can move the sword over. Or I disenchant the EE, run out two Squawks, and... whatever. We're going to do this the fun way. Chalice is actually the bigger problem long term. So let's blow off Chalice. We can Martyr. If opponent's holding a path, it's going to feel super bad, but this is what our deck does. Shoot you for 2. We'll draw a replacement card. Then run out Squawks. I haven't scryed it all. I don't know the current status of my deck. There's no point in shuffling just to shuffle. 1 Squawks is in the bin, 3 were in hand, so can't find another one. Then this is the Displacer. If they have colorless, it makes my job a little bit harder because they're either going to blow the EE or flicker the Squadron Hawk depending on how I attack. If they don't, it means that I just move the Sword of Fire and Ice over and I basically win on the spot. I guess I'm 2 damage off, so I shouldn't be that cocky about it, but... I get to blow the EE, so I have to make this move for sure. Yeah, they're done. Alright, I think opponent was... if they're playing 8-rack, that's probably a hard one for them, especially if their 8-rack opponent is running Smallpox. If they're playing against me and I don't have a disenchant, it's basically a buy for them. So it's a little hard to feel bad that opponents wanting friendly leagues to get untiered decks out of the way. Modern's a pretty open format with a lot of different things in it, which is why sideboards get taxed. But what can you do? I mean, we did what we wanted to. We basically ran out some creatures, we got some attrition running, and I mean, took down Eldrazi Tron, which is a little bit on the harder side. I think we might be more favored versus the Bant Eldrazi list than the Karn Eldrazi list. I don't think the Karn Eldrazi list has an official name yet, but they can do some pretty nasty things, and they're a little bit more artifact-based with the All Is Dust plan. But let's see what we got here. Thraben into a Charming Prince, into something of our choice, casts something of our choice, and then Batterskull, assuming we find lands. These are cards that we put in our deck, so I'm happy to give this a shot. Very worst case, we're going to end up having 2 clues off of this package here. This is an unfair deck. We're pretty much leaning really hard on the back of this Ranger Captain. Part of the reason I'm a huge advocate of Thalia. Like, Thalia just does so much for this deck's weaknesses. Island. Merfolk, Twiddlestorm, Storm. Seeing as how I have the 4 mana here, I actually might use Charming Prince to... Actually, I don't know what to scry for, so I don't want to scry yet. Let's just flicker the Thraben Inspector and put a bear out there. Spell Snare me? Deal. Alright, we're playing against control, and we can usually grind control pretty well. Alright, well, I mean... Charming Prince getting spell snared is definitely a thing. Ooh, and there's a Squawks. First things first, let's chip in for 1. See if opponent wants to act on that. Nope. Alright, well, Field of Ruin can technically fix their mana. I'm assuming they're blue-white with what I've seen so far, but basically anything blue is on the table. I want a Ranger Captain to try to protect the Batterskull. So the turn that I Batterskull, I can sack Ranger Captain, and then they can't counter my stuff. So Thraben Inspector is the best at grinding. Serra Ascendant's actually a threat, but I don't have the life gain yet, but I do have the Batterskull as well as Squadron Hawks in hand. I think I'm going to go for the Serra Ascendant as a must-answer threat, despite the fact it takes multiple turns, since I'm already going to have a clue. And honestly, a 1-2 just doesn't cover very much ground here. If they are blue-white, I need to keep the idea of Supreme Verdict in the back of my mind. Look at that. So far, it's blue-white. Lame. That's why you always want to cast Squadron Hawks. Just chipping for 4. Opponent might have Brazen Borrower. Okay, that's fine. Honestly, just ramps us. We didn't apply very much pressure, which means they can start to stabilize now, but you have to make some concessions. With Squadron Hawk, just get the card advantage, go get 2 more. As a blue-white player, I would 100% counter a Squadron Hawk, so the fact that we had a second one is kind of okay. But I do need to keep a non-zero number of these in my hand if the game goes long. Then running out the Serra Ascendant here is slightly weak to board clears, but they only get rid of 3 power at the moment. The other consideration is to crack the clue, but I want to be able to attack with the Serra Ascendant next turn. And I suppose we'll see if they're 3-color. They are. Esper. Fatal Push. Lame. This actually might be Esper Death Shadow. No, they would have gotten non-basics by now. Ignore me. Ghost Quarter. Okay, I'm actually going to fish with this Thraben Inspector. Opponent only has colorless up, so I'm not concerned with too much of it. And Emeria. Okay, well, I don't like Emeria being exposed to Field of Ruins. Let's go ahead and Ghost Quarter. We'll just attack. And 3 squawks in hand is not a very happy place to be at. Given the fact that opponents are all on non-basics though, and they're not running snowlands, it probably means that they're not on astrolabes. I mean, that basically confirms they're not on astrolabes. But they actually might have wanted to try to color fix. I don't like forcing the Ghost Quarter, but I want Emeria to happen, so. Oh, I should have waited. I needed to attack first. Alright, attack with all creatures. Snapcaster for Path, I'm assuming? Honestly, that's fine. Perfectly okay with all of that. That's a little sad just because I'd like to get that back, but seeing as how I'm not going to have Emeria online quite yet, I'm still okay with it. And the fact that opponent's chipping off a couple of our creatures, it means that they don't have a board clear. So the other squawks can come out. Nope, we're not going to go look. Ranger Captain being a 3-drop means it's now open to discard, which was a consideration, but... Alright, Emeria is now online. So let's get some attacks in. Opponent did not leave up Cryptic mana, so I'm not getting the read that they're on Cryptic. This might be the Drown in the Loch. Okay. This might be Drown in the Loch's Into the Story. Yep, they're done. So the read there was I was going to Ranger Captain, go get a threat, sack it during their upkeep so that they couldn't cast any spells, and then Emeria back on my turn, and then we were just going to loop the Ranger Captain, which is why the opponent conceded there. So I'm expecting them to be a graveyard deck. I'm not huge on bringing in a Rip versus blue-white control, but they did show us at least 2 Snapcaster Mages, which ends up being... Like, we'll trade a couple of our things for a couple of their things. I do want to put this side by side to see what we're going to lose, though, because if we lose our graveyard, we lose a lot of our recursion here, which is going to be the Mistveil Plains, the Emerias, and the Proclamation, which is how we grind out these longer games. I don't necessarily think that we're going to be able to win with Stoneforge against this deck. Like, we're just not going to get there. They also didn't see that we were Stoneforge, so we are a little up in that. They did see our Batter Skull, so it's pretty safe to assume, but they can't be sure. I could see maybe 2 Rips, just take out the Proclamation and leave the lands, which would mean we're just going to trim the Kami because they don't do combat damage either. Again, I've noticed I'm trimming this a lot. This package is cute and it works versus things, but it's probably a sideboard package at this point. The combo obviously being you forecast for 6 mana to buy back Kami, and then you sack Kami, and then Proclamation again. It also works with Emeria, but you basically get Kami every combat step, so your opponent can't ever deal combat damage again. It's just really cute, and honestly, that's not the type of Magic that Modern is these days. Crucible of Worlds could be a consideration here. This is mainly in here just for Tron, but opponent did show us a couple of Field of Ruins, and they're on an odd number of basics, so I'm not excited to bring this in. I think this is probably our ideal configuration. Just hope that they try to answer the rip and then we can use our graveyard. Or just shut them down completely. This card is the one that I'm concerned with. Counter target spell equal the number of cards in its controller's graveyard, or destroy target creature equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. This is so very awkward. If they counter our Sword of Fire and Ice, we can't do anything. But this is a very threat-heavy hand, and we have Oblivion Ring for their Planeswalkers. I'm assuming they at least have Teferi. We're on the draw, which means we have Oblivion Ring Teferi. They're going to have a lot of removal. I'm actually going to keep this on the assumption this is going to be a long game. This is quite a bad hand, though. And I was also expecting Thoughtseize. Our curve is tap land on one, grab a couple of Squawks. Opting? Okay. I'm not a fan of the 2 damage opt, but opponent can do them. We'll do us. Silent Clearing. This was an attempt to figure out how much these Horizon lands would help the life gain deck late game. I'm not a fan of them, but we have plenty of other lands to give this a shot. Yeah, this looks like it's just going to be Squawks with a replacement Squawks. So we have 6 cards in hand, which means we only get 1 at the moment, but yeah. Oh, we only need 1. I want to get all the Squawks. I just want to do it. Seraphic's opponent did spell snare us game 1 with a Charming Prince, and that felt so bad. Wow, they missed their land. No wonder they opted for it on turn 1. They have 2 mana up. We have no cards in our graveyard. Am I supposed to just run out the Sword of Fire and Ice here so I can double spell next turn? I honestly think that's what my plan is. So let's go ahead and attack first and see if opponent's going to waste a path or a push. I mean, you never know. They did technically... Yeah, it would have to be Mana Leak or potentially the Ceremonious Rejection. They did see our Batter Skull, so I wouldn't really put it past them. And they missed our land, so we go up to 2-0. Don't feel great about that one. I felt like we put up a fight versus Eldrazi Tron, but yeah, that was opponent getting mana screwed, and opponent probably got flooded game 1. We matched them for lands, but we ended up getting a couple of clues, and we set up exactly like we were supposed to and drew a little bit better than Control did, which is one of the advantages to Charming Prince. I know that they countered him last game, but scrying into what you need actually feels pretty valuable in this archetype now. Still not stoked about the Proclamation package. It's kind of just needed because of the name of the archetype, though. I don't know. 2-0 is a pretty good start, though. There is a reason I usually recommend this as the budget deck. Yes, this one is $630, but this is a lot of, this is mainly the Stoneforge Mystics driving up the price of this version of the deck. And I'm still not overly excited with that. We're on the play. I can't keep a single lander. Like, the way that this hand is shaping up is turn 1 Martyr, turn 2 Path it, turn 3 Stoneforge Mystic. I do get to check the Sword of Fire and Ice here. Is this actually a serviceable hand? Just out of curiosity. So, 1 drops. Opponent is keeping their 7. If we draw a land, this is next to serviceable. But this is exposing Martyr on 1 to any removal, and then praying to top deck 1 of 20 lands in the top 53. Oh my gosh, I'm going to try it. I've been keeping terrible hands all day. You're not supposed to keep these hands. But I really don't want to go to 5 when opponent's already on 7. I think our best way to stay in this game at this point is to actually just play on curve to 2 drops. And Charming Prince, if he comes down, can try to scry us into our third land if we need the Oblivion Ring. Path it, path it, path it, path it. Mountain Bolt would be so disappointing. This looks like Tron. I mean, to be fair, this could be any number of things. It's... Is this Hogak? Well, Bridge Vine... Not Bridge. Crabvine? I think that's the deck, is Crabvine. This is looking like Mill, but this could be Crabvine. Yep, Crabvine. Yep. Okay. Fun. This is the new adventure card that mills. It's just a 0/4, so it's a good blocker and also get some incidental mill on. Land. Ah, the tilt stop. Opponent, come on. Show me a land. Well, we have rips in the sideboard. Oh, interesting. This is also a 1-mana creature to double cast, get Vengevine back. That's actually kind of cute. Alright, well, we got a land, so hard part's over. We get to play at least a little bit on curve. We're going to have a 4/4 lifelinker. Let's get us a Batterskull. Martyr chips in. Blood gas is hopefully never going to get turned on in this game. If they get haste, we probably already lost the game. They do have a lot of recursive threats, though. This Oblivion Ring is going to have to go after a crab. Or, not a crab. I keep saying crab because they got a crab. It has to go after a Vengevine. Because that's a recursive threat, and it can actually trade with Batterskull. Ooh. Alright. They're going to have an explosive start. And I'm going to be sitting here chaining land again so that I can put in Batterskull and hold up Path. Because honestly, I'm probably going to be fogging with Martyr and Pathing. Wow, and the Creeping Chill. Is this just what Dredge looks like now? I mean, if I see a Vengevine, it's not Dredge, but Creeping Chill seems like an interesting inclusion to this archetype. Actually, I haven't seen a Thug or not the Troll. Thug or Stinkweed, so this can't be Dredge. They would have found it by now. There's the Bloodghast. Then I assume crack the Polluted Delta. Oh no, they're just letting it go? Not a land. So I can gain 12 and path something or just put in a Batterskull. So I assume that's my plan. Opponent can't block, but I'm probably going to be using Martyr to get Vengevine fogged. So let's just ship it back and we can figure it out when we need to figure it out. I have 2 moderate lines for current situation. I'm trying to figure out what them passing with the Polluted Delta next... Okay, it means they had another crab, so that they can hopefully find a Vengevine. That's what that means. Assuming opponent's new to this deck, though, they're trying to figure out how to stack their triggers. But they're going to end up milling for 4-8 more. Interesting. Crack with the trigger on the stack. I don't think the Gravecrawler actually fixed that. Shocking in the breeding pool, which means they're getting ready to cast the Merfolk. There's a Grizzly Salvage. There's the Vengevine and a Prized Amalgam. But Batterskull is fine versus the Prized Amalgam. There's some Stitcher Suppliers. You get a mill for 8 more. There's a Gravecrawler and a second Vengevine. So there's the Merfolk getting back 2 Vengevines. Called it. So we get a Path 1, Fog the other, and then we can put in a Batterskull next turn to stop the Prized Amalgam. I'd actually be curious to see if they attack with this. Yeah, they don't. They shouldn't. Okay. If they attack with this, I put in the Batterskull, block this, and end up fogging the damage anyway, so... And then I'm able to swing back at them next turn. So let's pay 1, reveal 4 cards to gain 12 life. Unfortunately, does not make future Serra Ascendant 6/6s yet. And then this one's hitting... I don't know which one I had blocked. Let's do that guy. You'd think that one of them would show them not hitting me. They were both showing the icon to hit me. But I had to sequence it this way so that I could gain the 3 life off the Path to Exile. And I honestly thought Moto would be a little more user-friendly than that. But we'll see how that goes. Then, if I draw a land, I actually might be Oblivion Ringing this Vengevine. Because opponent can find 2 more, but... Yay, I did the right one! Yeah, whatever. Batterskull coming down is going to net just as much life as permanently getting rid of this. Alternatively, I take 6, or I block this and I take 3. Yeah, so Batterskull's the correct choice here. Actually, they only had 1 Prized Amalgam? They had 2 triggers for the single Prized Amalgam. Yeah, Batterskull's 100% the right choice here. Because it means that only Vengevine can attack, and then I get to put in the Batterskull, untap, and Oblivion Ring it. We have Path to Exile and Winds of Abandon as good top decks. And with the Batterskull in play, I can actually use this Ranger Captain to go get a Serra Ascendant, which should be a 6/6 if I don't get hit too hard here. Alright, Grizzly Salvage will probably not take anything. You may put a land or a creature into your hand, and they reveal Bloodghast, Prized Amalgam, Vengevine. Yep, that one is painful, though. That makes the Serra Ascendant significantly less good. Gravecrawler coming in, triggers the second Prized Amalgam. Couple landfall triggers. I actually don't know if opponent's going to be able to raise our life total here. They do have 1 Prized Amalgam coming back and a Vengevine coming back. Which means I'm likely taking 8 here. Sending in Bloodghast this time. I guess that makes sense. It's just 2 more damage because I'm not going to be blocking it. I'm not a huge fan of the Surprised Amalgam attacking because it does actually change the math to the point I only take 4 instead of 8. I wouldn't be throwing Batterskull in front of a Vengevine, and if I do, that's actually perfectly acceptable for my opponent. But this is just a free block that's going to gain me 4 life. And now, opponent's not going to have any blockers that can kill my Germ, so I get to swing back for another free 4 damage. Tap land. Okay, first things first. Can't block, can't block, can't block. 0-4, 0-2, 0-2, can't block. So, may as well play the tap land. Send in the Germ. We go up to 26. Charming Prince comes down. I can gain 3 life. Then I have 1 additional blocker for a Vengevine. I can flicker the Stoneforge Mystic, go get sort of Fire and Ice. That doesn't really benefit me on the current board very much. Oblivion Ring gets rid of one of the 4/4s. Makes their attack significantly less good because they're going to be sending in a couple of 2/1s. I can just Ranger Captain, have a 3/3 to block any of the 2Xs, and that would put me on the table for 6, 14. I'll probably gain 4 back. Then I go get a Martyr of Sands, probably reveal 3 cards next turn, gain 9 more life. Opponent has 9 cards left in deck. Ranger Captain, go get Kami, will actually be fantastic next turn. I think I'd prefer to surprise the opponent with the Kami so that they don't get one of their attack steps if they decide to mill a little bit more aggressively. Opponent should have 1 more Vengevine left in their deck and probably 2 more Creeping Chills, so I have to plan on taking up to 10 more damage than currently represented. Ranger Captain is a free block, and then I can flicker it next turn with Charming Prince. I think that's going to be the line here. They don't actually cast Creeping Chill, so sacking the Ranger Captain's not going to do anything. The Walking Bliss is actually pretty decent as well, but I think Kami buying me a full turn of combat damage is going to be the most beneficial here. Just really wish I could surprise the opponent with it. Because now I get a Charming Prince, Ranger Captain, go get a Martyr, Kami. Yeah, I'm not really mad at my position, but opponent didn't do anything to mill, which I guess should be expected. Okay, free block there, free block there. Block there just to avoid the most damage, so I'm going to be taking 6, 9, 13. That's half my life total. But I'm going to gain 4 back. Yeah, that's fine. Still won't be below 10 unless my opponent finds, or actually just cast Creeping Chills. But Kami should be able to help a little bit. Oh, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run out Kami, Charming Prince, flicker my Ranger Captain, Misspell Plains, tuck it back into the deck, and go get it again so I can fog for 2 turns. And opponent didn't leave anything back that could kill my Germ again. I don't believe they should have any board damage. And we've already seen most of their deck. I think at most they would probably have Fatal Push. Okay, just hard cast Prized Amalgam. That's fine. Still can't kill my Germ, so we'll gain 4 on the backswing. So if I'm actually going to be using Misspell Plains to tuck my Kami, I actually might just Oblivion Ring one of the Vengevines. I love Squadron Hawk. Alright, well, Prize Amalgam can block Ranger Captain, so he's not getting in. Germ will get in. Still 2 mana away from Winds of Abandon being a complete blowout. So Kami's going to make combat awkward. Then I think I just take out a Vengevine. Just make it so it's not a problem anymore. Then attacks are going to be crazy awkward for the opponent. And I'm feeling in a pretty happy spot. Kind of wish this was Detention Sphere, but what can you do in your mono white? Yeah, I don't think Crab's getting in. Okay, so currently looking at 6, 9, 15. I'm going to gain 4 back, block 3, so it's going to be 9 damage. Block 2 is going to make it 7. Yeah, we're blocking this turn. So that's going to be netted 9. Yeah, I'm fine with that. We're swinging back for 4 anyway, so it's only a 5 life loss. And I'm hitting the Bloodghast first because they actually have to have a land to bring it back where they can just recast these. It's a little bit more work for them to get the Bloodghast and a little bit more limiting depending on the cards that they have. Wow, I'm just hard casting the Prized Amalgams. All right. It's sad I'm looking at milling the opponent out here, because that's going to be slow and painful, but I think it's my best line. Show me a path. Actually, I don't even know what I want. Proclamation of Rebirth is definitely a real card here. So let's actually just Squadron Hawk. We'll go get 3 Squadron Hawks. Then I think that puts me on actually Charming Prince pick up Ranger Captain, because I'll have 4 white cards in hand, which means I'll gain 12 life plus my attack from the Germ. Plus, actually, yeah, I won't be gaining enough there. I can almost turn Saracenda online. And turning Saracenda online with flickering the Ranger Captain is just going to be GG there. It's an additional blocker with lifelink. Although opponent might be squatting on a Creeping Chill in hand. I want a Proclamation, get back the Martyr of Sands, reveal 4 white cards in hand, and then that'll only put me at 24 though. With this attack, it'll put me at 28. Versus just fogging for 2 turns, that puts opponent to 5 cards left in deck. Let's just go get Walking Ballista. Because opponent is actually fairly close to dying at this point. So Walking Ballista is going to represent the most amount of repeatable damage. Can also shoot down the Gravecrawlers, which just means that their attacks are worthless. Okay, so I block that, net that. That's 9, 8 for 17. I can block 5. That's going to put 15, go down to 11. Yeah, let's just sack Kami. This also means if I alpha, they have to block with both Hedron Crabs and then they're almost dead. So getting rid of some of their blockers here just makes it a little bit harder for them to do anything. Preventing all combat damage means that Batterskull won't gain me any life. That's why I'm not blocking. Once upon a time to look at the top 5 of 6 cards in your deck. That may as well be Demonic Tutor. They took up Verdant Catacombs, and then they got to stack their deck, but I don't think they actually stacked it. Random order. Okay, so they can't stack it. I have some graveyard synergies. I'd love it if you milled me. Because more than likely I'm procking to get back my... So I can get a Martyr, and the Kami. Is that good enough? I'll gain 12. I think I'm going to wait for them to hit a Sarah Ascendant as well. Again, Bloodghast can't block. Thraben Inspector. Okay. So if I do this now, I can fog for a turn as well as gain a lot of life. Alternatively, I am running out 2 chump blockers. Let's attack first. So again, if I alpha, they're going to take 3, and I have a Walking Ballista. They're also going to lose both Hedron Crabs, or they're going to basically choose their life total and lose 1. Yeah, let's do that. Plan now is to Proclamation. Because they know about the Walking Ballista, which means they have to play around it, so both Hedron Crabs are going away. I also wouldn't be too surprised to see a Verdant Catacombs crack here to mill me for 4. And that kind of forces it if they're going to lose a Hedron Crab. Interesting. I guess maybe the Squawks would have actually been worthwhile there. Oh well. Can't imagine an opponent has Force of Negation. So we have gain 24 on the table in Fog Combat. I guess gain 28 if we go that route. We also have lethal attacking back in the air. Yep, there we go. All right, taking game 1 should really show the power of the deck here. We get to bring in Rest in Peace. Pithing Needle can name one of their lands. They didn't show us Altar of Dementia, so they can't really target us with that. Crucible of Worlds is kind of cute, but I don't think it's worth bringing in because it brings up our non-white count for our Martyr of Sands when we have to reveal white cards. If opponent starts milling us, we can play from the yard, but they'll only start milling us when they think they can kill us with that. They play a lot of creatures. Thalia is actually a great blocker in this situation. Winds of Abandon is great. Having it cost 7 is bad, but what can you do? Any of the cards with Exile on them are fantastic. Again, Thalia is going to be taxing some of these. It might just be 2 Thalias. And then we have to start cutting some things. The Kami proc package is actually cute here. I know I was a little down on it in the earlier videos, but this is exactly the matchup where this is cute. We get to... Walking Ballista actually isn't that great. We do get a little bit of reach with it, but picking off a couple of Bloodghast that just come back are not a winning line. Charming Prince also isn't fantastic here. It seems a little ancillary. I'm probably not going to say that you want a lot of these in the final build. I'm kind of just testing him out tonight, and he is valuable, but he just... being flexible doesn't necessarily give him the power when he does enter in a lot of matchups, so he's kind of like a flex spot. I assume he's going to come out in a lot of matchups at the moment. Thraben Inspector trades with a creature for a single turn. Cantripping is fine, but if we're going that late, we're probably winning anyway because they're going to be dirtling and casting 4 mana 3/3s. is there anything I actually care about in this current list? Martyr, Path, Raven Inspector. Sword of Fire and Ice is typically awkward versus Dredge, but they had a lot of blue. This would make one of my creatures unblockable. Banishing Light and Oblivion Ring, permanently answer Vengevines. Yeah, I think that's about as good as we're going to get. We're also probably going to be playing a game with the opponent where they think that we're bringing in the Rips, so they have to bring in Nature's Claims or Force of Vigors. So Force of Vigor is actually going to be quite good against us as we're a Stoneforge package. Oh, it's so close. Creeping Chill sets this off. So we do have the nut here. It's turn 1 Sarah Ascendant, turn 2 Martyr Sands Crack It, revealing 4 cards to make this a 6/6 flying lifelinker. On turn 2 attacking, we're on the draw, and opponent's going to have a number of Creeping Chills to hit us for 3, and we also need to figure out how to gain 1 more life as well as draw 1 more card. So I don't think I can keep this. This is slow but fine. We have permanent answers to Vengevine as well as Prized Amalgams. And I guess it's going to be the Raven Inspector since I have to lead on Mistveil, tapped on 1. Squawks will give us a couple of flyers. Hopefully we'll find a Stoneforge and suit some equipment up on it, or, I don't know, do something fun. Found, wow, the good stuff already. Oh boy. Oh boy, that's a good top deck. I'm expecting to get hit by this Vengevine next turn, so I'm actually just going to lead on Plains. No, I'm not going to have the mana to double spell next turn. It's Mistveil. We'll get hit once. It is the cost of running Mistveil, but we haven't seen it yet this league. Mistveil is really good at recurring Squadron Hawks as infinite blockers, as well as rebuying things like the Kami, so we can just tuck it back into our deck. We were going to use that line last game, but ended up just not going for it. We had the ability to win the game on the spot. Yep, and we would not have beat the... That first hand would have made the cut because they had the Creeping Chill. Now they get to cast at least the Merfolk, get back the Vengevine, hit us for 4, then Prized Amalgam comes back, which means I get to Martyr, probably, and then hold up Path if I absolutely need it, or fog the Vengevine, and... Oh, they didn't even cast the Merfolk. Okay. I mean, right now, Martyr's going to gain us 12 life. Yeah, we're probably on Martyr. Boo with the upkeep stops. Why do so many MTGO players have upkeep stops? At least let me see my draw so I can plan on what to do while you're away. Opponent's already 8 minutes down on clock. It's also very possible that I'm supposed to just path here. It only goes awry if opponent ends up milling into some Blood Gas and a Creeping Chill, because then they get to attack me. But it'd end up taking 7 damage permanently off the table. Kami's a pretty decent backup plan. Actually, no, I need Kami when the board gets out of control since this is going to go long. Alright, we're going to gain 15 life and fog 4 damage. I like those terms. Opponent does get to see our hand, but we're fairly well set up for opponent, so that's fine. There's 5. Go up to 18, lose 6. And they found a lot of grave crawlers. Plains is actually a fantastic draw here. So this is going to put me on Squawks, go get 3 blockers, and hold up a Path to Exile. Charming Prince actually doesn't cover a whole lot of what I'm looking for at the moment. If I go digging, I'm probably digging for a Stoneforge Mystic or a Rip. And casting Squawks is going to mess up my scry anyway if I want more than one card. If I Kami here, does it cover anything I want to do? No. I can Mistveil Plains and put it back into my deck and make it more likely that I draw it again, but it's not worth covering this little amount of damage. Opponent only has one card in hand. They don't really have any mill enablers. They do have a Merfolk in exile, but Grizzly Salvage does quite a bit for them, revealing a lot of really good cards. And they take the Crab. So free Creeping Chill, second Vengevine. Ugh, that is nasty. They could not actually recast, or they couldn't double cast this turn. Alright, well, Vengevine, you gotta go away. I don't like you. Killing a Gravecrawler is just going to turn on their double cast for next turn. I guess they already have their double cast for next turn. I guess that's more of a mana tax, but the 1 point of damage is likely more relevant at the moment. So just going to block the Prized Amalgam. Alright, well, I got hit with 2 Creeping Chills, and we're on turn 4. You're a little late to the party. So I know I'm going to have to path the next Vengevine. Then I have to deal with all this power on the table. Squawks is a chump blocker again and basically just run back last turn. Expect to take 5 damage. Yikes. Not a huge fan of that plan. Especially because opponent gets a Hedron Crab, crack it, go hit some cards, and then bare minimum it's going to be the Merfolk Secret Keeper. I have no reason to shuffle. All the Squadron Hawks are accounted for. I guess top decking a Thraben Inspector would make Charming Prince's Flicker a little more valuable. I just don't have the mana to actually function with any of this. On the plus side, opponent's likely going to time out. Going for these alternate win conditions with this deck just feel awful. Like, they're going to take this game, but they still have to win another one. And it's taken them 4 minutes to finish this game, to even get to this point in this game. So it's not likely that they'll be able to close out another one if it takes any kind of time at all. And we are stumbling hard. We're stumbling so hard. All right, well, we will path you. Block you, take 5. This does turn future Bloodghast on. I also can't see any way that they sideboarded. Alright, Plains is Kami, and I suppose that means Banishing Light on the Prized Amalgam. Then I'll take 5. Hold Kami for an aggressive attack that can close the game, or if they end up finding another Vengevine. Because Vengevine can close it. Okay. Yeah. So they brought in Assassin's Trophies to deal with any number of problems. That's good to know. That is officially online. They need 2 more damage this turn. Really close to Winds of Abandoning away the entire board. We only have 1 copy, though, and it's overperformed every time I've had it. Alright. Let's gain 3 life. Thraben Inspector. Squadron Hawk. All squawks are accounted for. Don't think opponents realize they've got to win 1 more game. Alright, well, landfall's harder to trigger. That's a free eat, and that saves us the most amount of life. Oh, that also kills me. Oh, I knew I was going to lose that game, so really didn't care that much. Them bringing in Assassin's Trophies as answers. I think I want the Thalia. They also have Once Upon a Time, Grizzly Salvage. Like, it's probably worth just having that 3rd one in there. And Charming Prince is just so awkward. He dies to all of their free creatures, so let's just make that trim and run it back. Really don't think Pithing Needling, a random fetch land, covers much there. They have shown us a lot of fetch lands and a lot of non-basics. I also don't think we've had the opportunity to Field of Ruin them yet. So, I don't even know if they have basics. Thraben Inspector was actually a pretty decent turn 1 drop, but I don't think I want to make that trade for anything here. Oblivion Ring, Banishing Light are all really strong. Sort of Fire and Ice, if we're only trying to wait out 3 minutes, is probably worse. This is kind of slow, but whatever. It's playable. It has cards in it. Life gain, exile. Sorcery speed exile, though. Do need to clarify that. Top decking a Sarah Ascendant actually doesn't cover much here because I don't have a second untapped land. I know there have been a lot of lists running like 4 Mistveil Plains and a couple of the lists running like Evolving Wilds, but I need my untapped land so bad. Well, I found a crab. Stitcher Supplier is a bit of a faster start, though. And they found a Vengevine. Alright. Well, I'm not making that trade, so... Oh, that was actually a misplay. I should have ran out the second Sarah Ascendant, because if I get to turn this online, then I'm going to have 2 flying 6/6ers, and I can kill my opponent before the timer's up. Although, if they're attacking me and hitting me with a Creeping Chill here, I'm probably not going to gain enough life for it to matter. Also, it doesn't seem right that they didn't attack me there, but okay. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gain 15. Casually get a 6/6 flying lifelinker. Swing in for 6. Go up to a 38. Run out another 6/6 flying lifelinker. And Assassin's Trophy doesn't get them out of it, even if they find a green land. They didn't have a way to get Vengevine back last turn, which means they need to have a 2-mana drop, so that could be a Bloodghast and a 1-drop, but they didn't have another 1-drop last turn. I don't know, I think this is over. Alright, well, nice that we won legit. I mean, we were 10 minutes ahead on clock, so we definitely deserve that win there, but for opponent timing out, but it just never feels good to go that route. There's a little bit of awkward mulliganing in game 2, but that felt like we were decisively taking that. Martyr Blade, though, again, can't rightfully call this Martyr Proc. We do have a Proclamation of Rebirth, but we're also running Stoneforge Mystics and Charming Princes. We're not focused on the 1-drops. We don't have Ranger Vios. It's been putting up a fight. Like, we've been taking a lot of games fairly decisively when we do take them. Oh, okay, so this is the somewhat nut draw. So we're going to Martyr on 1, hopefully draw a white source, and then, or sorry, Saracenda on 1. Attack in. So this is going to be a turn 3, 6/6, assuming that we top deck a white source here. Words are hard. I have to hit them for 1 and then gain 9 if I get a white card. Or this is burn. Hi, Lightning Bolt. I'm running out Stoneforge Mystic. The odds of them having Syrian Blaze are pretty high, so I have a second one. But gaining 6 here with Martyr doesn't actually accomplish a whole lot. And I'd much rather just get my Batter Skull and be fairly secure in where I'm at. Plus, if they do Syrian Blaze me and I top deck a white source, I can Martyr and still pull it off. Yep, there's a Syrian Blaze. White card? Technically a white card. Yeah, let's just gain 6. It's burn. This is technically a decent play, and they shouldn't be running Skullcrack main board if they're running Syrian Blaze, but just going to fire it off now, just to be sure. Burn opponent has already had to waste 2 cards, so we can kind of come back from this. I also should have ran out this Misspell Plains because it was tapped. If I draw a 2-drop here, it's going to feel bad. Hi, Taylor. You want to get your poke on? Taylor's pretty good at poking. Eidolon. That's bad. I'm going to run out the Stoneforge here just to get the other sword out of my deck. And also force them to remove this. If they have a Syrian Blaze, they're going to use it on this. And then next turn, I just get to run out Batter Skull outside of the Eidolon. And that's a pretty decent spot to be in. Alright, they had their Lightning Bolt. Little did you know, opponent, I have another one. Depending on how opponent sequences next turn, I can also Sword of Fire and Ice, attach it to the Batter Skull. Not next turn, but the following turn. Ouch, taking 5 here? Okay. That's a bad pain land. That's a really bad pain land. Take 6, that puts me dead to a Boros Charm and a Lightning Bolt. Okay, they have to at least sack the Fiery Islet. Yay, it's not a pain land! Alright, let's see what opponent draws. I'm likely going to have to think pretty hard about attacks here, because if they just have a Lightning Bolt and they're able to bolt the Germ with combat damage... Okay, this might be fine. Yep, no attacks. Yay, look at that, another non-pain land. Now I'm going to have Pro Red. Also gain 6 and shoot down their creatures. And that's the game. Actually, I'm just going to kill them. Okay. Invoke the Divine. Kills Eidolon, gains us 4 life. Thalia really taxes their mana and makes it a little bit harder for them to actually go for attacks with their Goblin Guides and their Eidolons. Eidolon of Rhetoric can be cute. They're probably bringing in Destructive Revelries, so my Stoneforge package is going to get significantly worse. Not a fan of Walking Ballista here. Gaining life with Martyr of Sands is actually very, very relevant. Kami is awkward. If they get a lot of combat damage off, they can win the game, but sacrificing it to fog 3 damage is technically a 1-for-1 as far as a bolts is concerned, and most of their deck is bolts. So he probably gets to stay in, but he's not very impactful. The Proclamation can actually rebuy Martyr of Sands and Lifelinkers, so it's 100% staying in. I could even see just trimming the Stoneforge package here and just bringing in some value creatures like Eidolon because it can't be killed by a single bolt. So what would that look like? That'd be Stoneforges and those guys out. They're also going to have a lot of Searing Blazes for my leftover creatures anyway, so it'd probably look like this. This is staying in. 2 more. It's not going to be Disenchant. It's not going to be Rip. Yeah, I guess Stoneforge is staying in. So Eidolon's going to come out. Thraben Inspectors can block while we stabilize a little bit. It's probably not a good enough reason to keep a lot of them in. Charming Prince here gaining 3 life as well as blocking a 2/2 is pretty good. Squawks is awkward. Squawks actually might be the package here because it ends up taking 2 damage off of Eidolon. It doesn't block very well, and unless I can suit it up with a Sword of Fire and Ice, he really doesn't do anything very productive. Yes, it's technically card advantage and it can get me a lot of white cards for Martyr, but that's likely not good enough. Let's just bring in the Thraben Inspectors and submit like that. We are pretty favored as we are a life gain deck versus burn, but doesn't hurt to do the full rounds and make sure we're doing everything correctly. Little surprised I haven't played Paradoxical Urza yet tonight. Thalia is really good, but I don't think it's 5 lands good. Let's take a mulligan. This is actually quite good. I'm going to have to tuck the Batterskull, and then Martyr's likely coming down on 2. So I don't have a turn 1 play unless I get a Thraben off the top. Oh, look at that. Tap land. Perfect. So, Martyr, you have to pay 1, which is why it's not a turn 1 play. They can just bolt it, as opposed to me getting like 6 here. I also want to see if they're going to try to hold up Skullcrack. Apparently not. Wow. That is heart-wrenching. Okay, Charming Prince is a blocker then? Because Martyr can fog and gain 6, but that lets them leave up Skullcrack for their turn, versus Charming Prince coming down, gaining me 3 life, and then... Ooh, actually, it's just going to be Martyr, because I can Ranger Captain next turn, and then Charming Prince flicker it to go get me another Martyr, depending on what I top deck. So I can still try to fog here. If they Skullcrack me, then that's on me, but seeing as how I'm likely going to Ranger Captain next turn, this feels like the correct line. Alright, moment of truth. Did you bring in Skullcracks for my gain 6? No. Okay, so that was 8 life. Well, I took 2 for casting it. That was 6 life. And forcing opponent to actually tax themselves. Ranger Captain. So, Walking Ballista, shoot down the Eidolon seems pretty tempting. I have 3 mana. I can Martyr, hopefully gain 9 next turn. Yeah, alright, well. We're going to do what we can. I'm assuming Ranger Captain's going to eat a bolt here. Or Helix, same thing. Rift Bolt suspended, 1 card in hand. So they're looking to crack this Sunbait Canyon. Gain 4. No Skullcrack. Gain 1, get a blocker. This is going to eat the Rift Bolt, but that's fine. Burn's basically out of cards, and I'm at 19, so whatever you got to do. Burn is also a very, very good deck in the meta at the moment, so no remorse. Ooh, just going after me. Okay. So they realize that they're actually going to lose the war with the Eidolon. Okay, well that's not going to stop me from killing it if they attack. Oh, there's the Skewer. Interesting they didn't send the Rift Bolt after... Yeah, I'm actually very confused by that. Oh, they realized they had to attack with the Swift Spear. That's why they changed course. Okay. Oh boy, I would love to see something kind of expensive that's actually high impact. Because I have a lot of lands. I mean, that gets me something expensive. It's very possible I die here, though. Syrian Blaze just basically ends it. Boros Charm makes combat awkward. Also just hits me for 4. Alright, there's a Lava Spike. One apiece, otherwise I'm dead to a bolt. And then I'm still likely just dead, but we'll see how we do. Cannot cast that Thraben Inspector, otherwise I go to 3. There's a Batter Skull, and then opponent's going to Wear Tear it, and we're going to die inside. Show me Wear Tear. Smash to smithereens, even worse. Alright, Burn gets that game. We flooded super hard, though, and we were on the draw. Yeah, I think we just run it back. Hope that not flooding nearly as hard, them not having an Eidolon that we can't answer, and also just being on the play. Being on the play against Burn is such a big deal. This is Thalia, Winds have abandoned the Eidolon Thalia. I mean, this is actually fine. Not a huge fan of the Pain Land, likely cycling it unless we find a Batter Skull. Do wish we could put a little bit more pressure up versus Burn, but I'll take whatever I can get. Alright, that's a Swift Spear. Thalia actually doesn't block that very well because if they have any non-creatures they can cast, then it gets through it. But that looks like a fine turn 2 play. Winds of Abandon and Path to Exile. This looks like a Syrian Blaze. Or just regular Lightning Bolt. Take 2. Seems fair. Alright, seeing a little too many lands in this setup. Okay, so I'm actually going to assign... Oh, I can't actually path now. Did not think through that. I was going to say I was going to assign block and then path the Swift Spear, but... Lightning Helix targeting Thalia. Okay, that's fine. That actually accomplishes exactly what I wanted it to, so... The bottom line was I wanted to get rid of Swift Spear and have them send Burn at me. So... Come on, meow. Prince is fine. Prince gains me some life. And opponent has 4 cards in hand on their turn 4, and I'm at 20, which is basically where you want to be at. I just wish I had a little bit more pressure. That's an Eidolon. Alright. Wins you. Then your decks that you just keep top decking gas, but I have another Prince. I'm going above 20. You're going to have to spend more burn at my Prince. And opponent is officially out of basics. Good to know in case we top deck a Field of Ruin. Take them off white. And that is a Stoneforge Mystic. And we have 5 mana. Should have attacked first. Attacking there, they were likely going to bolt the Prince before combat damage if they cared. Now seeing the Stoneforge Mystic, they're likely going to bolt the Stoneforge Mystic. Although Stoneforge being a 1-2 and already have done its damage likely isn't nearly as relevant as the 2-2 body. They still went after Stoneforge. Alright, they might have a hasty creature in hand. I don't know what to make of this. Post-combat, I've played Magic before. Sorry, we're rounding an hour and 45 minutes into the video, so getting a little frazzled. Let's see. Stoneforge comes down. They're going to show me Smash the Smithereens. It's the only card that they could be holding other than a land. If they don't pop it before my turn, I'm just going to hold up the pick up Batterskull option, basically for the rest of the game. So they have to have it this turn. But this could very well be a concession. Me being at 15 and them having 2 cards in hand and no creatures on the table, I feel pretty far ahead even if they smash my Batterskull. I have multiple top decks that can get out of this. Yeah, and then that's likely just it. Yep. Alright, well, that's pretty good. If I find 2 more Plains of Maria's turned online, and I can start rebuying things like Stoneforge Mystic and Charming Prince and Thalia, and quite happy with that. Right now, it looks like they're debating trying to send 2 burn spells at my Germ token. If they send 2 burn spells at my Germ token, I'm just picking up Batterskull and recasting it. I might even path it just to get a creature at this point. Interesting. I have enough mana to fire off multiple spells. So that out-of-sequence Lava Spike doesn't make a ton of sense, but Charming Prince's flexibility is definitely appealing here, because now I get a Scry since I don't care about my life total. I'm actually likely not turning on Serra Ascendant this game, so it can go away, but Walking Ballista is enough reach for me to close this game out, so if they happen to kill one of my Charming Princes, I'll just Walking Ballista for 2 and finish the game. But I think that's about it for a burn opponent here. They did fight pretty admirably. They gained a lot of life. Multiple creatures. Not attacking. Okay, well, Taylor's a bigger problem long term. This also frees it up so that I'm going to hit for 4 and then be able to Walking Ballista for 2. So they need to hold a Lightning Bolt as well. Interesting. And here's Walkie. And there we go. All right, move up to 4-0. Definitely putting up some respectable results there. Uh, the new cards are definitely doing things. So one of the problems I had with Martyr Proc was going late into the game. If you didn't draw whatever finisher you decided to slot into the shell, Sun Titan or Elspeth or a Gideon, then you kind of had a problem closing out the game because you basically had a bunch of Thraben Inspectors and Martyr Sands that are just 1/1s, and you can typically draw a lot of cards and keep recasting your Squadron Hawks, but 1/1s don't close out the game very quickly. Batterskull actually does give you a little bit of reach to do that, and you also kind of ran into a problem where your opponent would just have like one resilient threat, like a Death Shadow, and being able to use Stoneforge Mystic to go get something that has protection from that color means that your opponent can attack with it or block with it. And I'm actually really liking the amount of depth that Stoneforge is giving to it. Unfortunately, Martyr Proc has always been kind of a budget list, and Stoneforge is the reason this deck is actually north of $600. So it's really hard to make that as a hard sell for this archetype when it's supposed to be something like lower in the tiers and actually budget. But I think Charming Prince might have a home as like a two of maybe. Like I'm happy to see it in multiple games. I just don't necessarily need to have it in order to perform well. But his flexibility has come in pretty nice. This actually doesn't go anywhere. We're on the draw. If we have two draws to get a land, but if that land is just gaining us some life or cracking a clue, I'm not very excited about this hand. This is better. This is Sarah Ascendant must answer on 1, and then Stoneforge on 2, and then get Squadron Hawks for whatever equipment I go get. Then I am just getting the feeling that Misplaced Ginger is playing Tron, primarily because we haven't seen Tron yet tonight. Really don't want to get rid of this Ghost Quarter, and I assume I'm going to be getting a sword for the Squadron Hawks if this is a grindy game, so I want 3 mana to be able to play it and equip if they kill my Stoneforge. I think this is actually making me tuck the Prince, because he wasn't going to be my turn 2 play. So it's just, he wasn't even going to be my turn 3 play, so I'd rather have the mana. This is looking like control, which means Martyr Sands is probably my best top deck. No, it's Urza! We are actually playing Urza. Should not be that excited. This matchup is miserable, but I have a lot of sideboard cards for this matchup. Okay, sequencing here makes me think that they don't have a second land, and they're digging for it. If that's the case, we might take game 1 and then have a lot of hate for them in game 2. Or no, they just have everything. Ranger Captain's a pretty decent top deck, though. What's Stoneforge? I assume I want to get pro blue so I can get past Thopters if they're on... Actually, so Batterskull actually isn't going to do a lot for me here. They're probably going to be chump blocking. Sword of Fire and Ice is only good if they're on Urza's Sword of the Meek, which is not very common these days. It's mainly paradoxical. Sword of Fire and Ice can get me through the blue Thopters from Thopter Foundry, but not the Thopters from Sai. So Batterskull would at least let me gain life and have multiple threats attacking every turn and make it harder for them to actually kill me. So I guess I just talked myself into Batterskull. Little sad I cut all of the stepmoms, so I can't get protection from colorless. Opponent also has 4 mana this turn. There's a Sai. So I want to find a path. Nope. Oh my gosh. I would have gained 6, which actually isn't enough, so that's fine. Saracen, can't attack in through the Thopter anymore. So I can Martyr and put in Batterskull, or I can... I need Batterskull in, so I'm a threat. I can tap land and Captain next turn with another Sarah Ascendant. I think that's the plan. Alright, well, we have Thalia's post board, we have Pithy Needle's post board, we have Eidolon's post board. Post board, I'm pretty excited to test out a lot of very targeted hate because this deck is super miserable, and the first time I've actually wanted Mox Opal banned. It took me a little while to get on the Mox Opal bandwagon. Fast mana is okay if it's a build around, but artifact decks are very strong, and the fact that my opponent's likely going to kill me this turn makes me very sad. I can't spend my 3-drop to survive for a single turn. Alright, well, they have the Urza, so let's not F6. Let's yield until here. Because likely what's going to happen is opponent just taps this for 4 mana and paradoxical outcomes, and I don't even want to watch the rest of it. Okay, so they didn't have the paradoxical or they would have killed us. But dang, are they close to killing us. So they're going to get a Servo and a Thopter every time that they cast an artifact. Oh, do you actually have the paradoxical as well? Come on, show it to me. Yep, alright. Super toxic deck. Okay, Eidolon of Rhetoric. Not a huge fan of Invoke the Divine. I'd mostly be targeting their mana rocks with this, so just not a fan of it. Thalia gets to come in, Pithy Needles get to come in. Walking Ballista can shoot down a walker. It can't really do much against Psy, so this actually might just be a cut. Most of the time they let their Saheelis sit on 5 just because they only want the servos off of it. They don't actually care about activating it. Path to Exile answers their creatures. Kami is just too slow here. If they start going off, I'm just conceding. It's not worth watching an opponent try to figure out how to play their deck. Winds of Abandon could clear the board, but then they're likely just going to combo off again. Actually, this still hits Urza and Psy, so that's probably staying in. Squawks does pretty much nothing on this board, so Squawks can come out. Oblivion Ring and Banishing Light both hit Planeswalkers, and Psy and Urza, so they get to stay in. Ranger Captain can shut off their combo if they're about to actually combo off. Most of their mana is actually through artifacts, so Crucible doesn't do much. In fact, they don't run very many lands just because Paradoxical draws so many cards they don't want to brick if they actually Paradoxical. I think that's mostly what I'm concerned with. Raven's a little bit slow. He doesn't actually do anything to further the board state, so he's probably the trim here. Charming Prince can draw me into my actual hate pieces, so he's probably going to stay in as the full 4 of, and then the Stoneforge package can actually kill them, so we don't apply a lot of pressure, but we can shut down just about everything that their deck is trying to do. Martyr into Ranger doesn't actually accomplish anything. Martyr. Okay, well, we have a Pithy Needle for Urza, so that shuts down a lot of their mana. Nope, because Urza is a mana ability. He is, right? Card, Urza. I want to say it's Enlightened. That's likely not going to come up. Not Urza Vanguard. Let's see here. Yeah, that's a mana ability. That's amazing. All right. I guess it's a land. So that's an oversight on my part. For some reason, I thought that Urza wasn't a mana ability, but it is because it only generates mana. Well, likely losing our 5-0 to Urza, which is sad because I had so many pieces for it. And they targeted themselves, and so they decided they like it, so they didn't crack their fetch land. I'm going to hit them for 1 and run out Charming Prince, trying to scry into Eidolon or Thalia. Both are very good against their deck. Okay, well, they're not doing anything here, so may as well just go for it now. Hey, look at that. That's a card. I also might want that, because that's going to generate them a lot of Thopters if they have... If they end up running out Mox Opal and a couple of other artifacts here, they can drop Psi, but then they've popped their load. I'm not going to be able to draw the Thalia I already put on top. If I could put the second from the top, I'd take it, but because I saw Thalia and got a little excited, it's going to have to go to the bottom. Then I get to take a look to see what opponent's actually doing here. Pithy Needle cannot name Mox Opal, Mox Amber, Astrolabe, Labe. I think that's Labe. I can name their fetch lands. Okay, well, they haven't run out their free mana rocks yet, so if they have Spell Snare, then this just feels bad. They shouldn't be running much interaction, and if they do, it's probably along the lines of Dispel. So if this Thalia sticks, we might actually be able to close out this game. This at least makes Mox Opals neutral, so they need to have a payoff, and they need to be able to play multiple spells. I can get through an army of Thopters, but if they find an answer for Thalia, it's going to be really hard for me to actually just win the game. Unless I get a Stoneforge Mystic, then things are fine. Snow-covered mountain. Alright. Well, they had Path to Exile. I guess it's safe to assume the white deck has Thalia in it. Opponent's low enough, I'm just going to go for the Sword of Fire and Ice and try to close it out. Okay, so there's a Saheeli, which means the 0-drops are coming out to get some servos. So the Path to Exile wouldn't have even helped here because they're on the Saheeli plan. I think I'm on Oblivion Stone off the top. Or another Thalia. Actually, probably just another Thalia. But they're going to run out a bunch of artifacts, get a bunch of free servos, cantrip a couple of times, probably find another Path to Exile. So one thing I can do is I can run out Pithing Needle naming Saheeli so that if they find an Urza, they can't make the servo a construct and hastily hit me for all of their artifacts. Okay. I'm assuming that this is going to pay off for them. I just don't see how. And there's a Teferi. Yay, fun magic. So if I top deck a land and they don't bounce my Stoneforge, which they do, I can equip but still not even get through the servos. I guess that would have been a reason to keep a Walking Ballista. Ooh, that is a thing. So I'm going to gain 9, but show my opponent the fact that I have another Martyr coming down. I'm not going to attack because I'm only going to be able to gain 3 with this Martyr, and they have 4 servos. If I attack, they can just kill my creatures however they choose, and I think my creatures are more valuable than their servos. But they saw the 2 white cards in hand, which means they know I'm going to be able to Martyr, Stoneforge, and hit for 6 next turn. There's an Urza. That construct's a 9/9. The fact that they use Saheeli to cast a Teferi to bounce a Stoneforge Mystic makes me think that they have another Saheeli in hand, so I would not be surprised to see a servo copy the construct and swing for 9. It's only going to eat my Thraben Inspector, but like would not be surprised by it. EE on 1. Fun magic. Then Saheeli's going to copy the construct, swing for... I guess that got rid of some Astrolabs. Can really see the fact that these artifacts are making Martyr significantly worse. Just running out redundant planeswalkers because that's what your deck does. They picked up Mox Opal. Seems like an interesting decision. I'm assuming there's another colored spell coming my way. Taking the shock just to say you can. Oh no, they did it so that they can activate Urza and still swing in with the Saheeli token. Revealing another Urza. So, second construct. My top decks at this point basically become nothing. Like, there could be a world where I get a land, Crack the Clue, get Winds of Abandon. Yeah, like, I can't even cast that now. I'm currently looking at taking 24 unless I run out at least one blocker, and I'm still dead on tables, so... This is when Mox Opal probably deserves the ban. Like, I was fine with it in Hardened Scales, I was fine with it in Affinity, but that is just so miserable to play against. Alright, well, we earned some treasures. Let's take a look. Teamer Ascendancy. I wanted that to be good so bad. I mean, it sees play in some of my EDH decks, but did not make its run through Standard. Ooh, Myrtle Coil. Also fun EDH card. Some Pittance of Play Points. Secluded Glen is actually a card that I will play at some point in time, although I think I already have a couple of foils. Triskelion is actually a really good combo card. I've wanted to try to do a couple of different things with it in Modern. A deck like that's probably coming in the near future. And last but not least, ooh, Flying Carpet. Flavor Win. Ugin's Insight is not very good, though. Alright, what can I say about Martyr Blade? I have played very, very many different variants of Martyr Proc, and aside from the fact Mox Opal probably deserves to be banned, I don't think I have much to comment on this one. Charming Prince was something that was very playable. It doesn't necessarily fix the problem of gaining 9 with Martyr of Sands on turn 2, because you still have to make it to turn 3 to gain 3 more life, and you've already attacked for 1. So it does have that edge case going for it that a lot of other creatures don't have. These shells have also played things like Lone Missionary in that slot, and if you are liking the Lone Missionary package, then Charming Prince is pretty much a strict upgrade. Sorry, coughing spell. The Proclamation of Rebirth is a pretty good value card to have as a one-of. I probably would just trim it. The Kami loop is beautiful, and we saw it work versus Crabvine. It is good in some matchups, and if You want to play it. I love playing Magic for fun. I would put a couple of copies in the sideboard for the creature matchups. Humans is not really the menace it was a while back, so the differently named Oblivion Ring and Oblivion Stone or Oblivion Ring and Banishing Light probably don't need to be differently named. Winds of Abandon has been a fantastic Magic card for me. The sorcery speed is bad, but it gets around Chalice on one, which is a huge flaw for this deck. And you actually get up to 6 mana fairly frequently and fully blown away your opponent's board a one-sided board clear, regardless of how many lands you give them. Is actually very, very powerful. I don't think I can overstate that enough. I believe the shell needs at least 2 Winds of Abandon, potentially 3. It's removal, permanent removal, which is a problem versus those dredge decks and stuff like that. And I think it covers most of the use cases that you have problems with. It has overperformed every time that I've cast it. Ranger of Eos is a fantastic Magic card. I actually would be interested to see some Charming Princes with Ranger of Eoses in the list, so you can go get 2 creatures, and then Charming Prince, go get 2 more creatures. It's pretty similar to looping it with Emeria, but you get the upside with Emeria and Ranger Captain of Eos that you can actually sack it to force that. We did actually see that in our first match when I did that versus a blue deck. I can't remember which one. But that's very powerful. The ability to sack him is good, but if you're looking at more of a flicker strategy, Prince actually might have a home there. Stoneforge is probably the last talking point I need to bring up. The Batterskull was a fantastic win condition, but if you have a lot of colorless cards in your sideboard, you probably need to take out the Stoneforge package for whatever colorless cards you want to slot in. Obviously, the cards I brought in were not good enough against Urza. I didn't even make the realization until I was going to slot it in that Urza is a mana ability. So, I don't know. Just different problems there. I don't think that should be a permanent problem with the format, but you do see the problem with Crucible and Pithy Needle. There are times where they're irrelevant, but I just couldn't bring them in because it makes Martyr worse. And that's a real cost of this deck. Walking Ballista is already a significant consideration just to have a single tutor target that can shoot something down, and I love it. It's one of the best options that you can go tutor for. So if you're running 3 colorless cards, you're almost not even a mono white deck at that point. You almost have to flag yourself as colorless because you care about your white source count. I don't think the Canopy lands are worth it. I've run 2 leagues now, I believe, with them. I had a single silent clearing, and seeing it against Burn was just awful. This deck is great versus Burn. Having that as a little bit of an edge is bad, but if it's one of your only 2 lands when you're running 2 lands, and you're tapping it for 1 life every turn, it also messes up your Serra Ascendant life math. So it's probably just going to make a permanent cut. Overall, though, Martyr Proc is still a deck I recommend to everybody. I have multiple videos of it up on Squirrel Dealer on YouTube, so feel free to go check it out. Just a reminder, I have actually cut Monday from my schedule, so there won't be anything tomorrow night. I'll get this updated as soon as I can. But feel free to go check out all the videos on Squirrel Dealer. Brad One should hopefully be streaming on Tuesday, and I will be back on Wednesday with another fun deck, and thanks for sticking around, you guys. Have a good one.